Hi, I'm Devin Chester, the Director of Business Development with All Points Digital. I am thrilled to have with me today Heather Hamrick. She is our Director of SEO here at All Points Digital. She is an SEO expert of her own right for the last decade, so I am thrilled to be able to tap her to discuss some core competencies when it comes to the world of SEO. Welcome, Heather.
Happy to be here. Thank you. Happy
So
to
we
be
were just
here.
talking about this, that SEO is like the fundamentals of digital marketing and such an important piece for people to understand and to put time and attention into when they are investing in a digital marketing strategy. So one question I was curious to talk to you about today, to get your point of view on, are just some of the trends we've seen in the market. So, what are some of the latest changes you've seen in the world of in the world of SEO? So, what are some of the things, some of the tactics that marketers should be aware of and should be implementing in their strategies today?
Sure. I mean, SEO is a very vast world, but I think one of the largest rollouts that we've seen recently from a Google perspective is Core Web Vitals, which really goes back to your site speed at a micro level. Google is just really focusing in on certain aspects of how your site loads more granularly rather than just saying you need a fast site. With the algorithm update, it really continues to show that even more so now than ever, that SEOs need to be tied at the hip with an experienced development team to ensure that site updates adhere to some of those guidelines. Because what I think are many pitfalls in the SEO world is the siloing between the two SEO and development teams, which I've seen firsthand that can end in disaster when site updates are being made and maybe the SEO team isn't involved. We've seen a lot of decreases in organic visibility and rankings due to that.
Yeah, I think we've all heard the importance of site speed, but to know the impact that it has on SEO directly, and that great point here to make sure that we prioritize the relationship between your development team and your SEO team, I think is a good call out. Um,
Yeah, that cohesion, collaboration, and continuing education. I think on both sides, really to understand, what the importance is of SEO to developers. And then, not always some of the recommendations we make from an SEO standpoint are feasible in that site's platform or environment. So it's really important for both teams to be, continually connected.
it's awesome. Um, all right, so that's kind of hitting upon what's the latest and greatest. Like, what's the thing we need to have, our finger on the pulse of when it comes to SEO. But again, like one of the core fundamentals here. So, what are some of the staple strategies, some of those core components of your SEO tactics that have never changed that should always be top of mind for any marketer?
Sure. The good old saying, content is king for SEO, that is not going anywhere. Google has even said around that, the Core Web Vitals update that they will continue to prioritize content they see as more valuable to user versus a site that is faster with weaker content from a ranking perspective. So Google really evaluates content and page quality around EAT, which is expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So it's super important to continue creating that content that is viable and useful to users, not just for the sake of SEO or ranking purposes. Google doesn't want to send users to bad or misleading information. And I think Google has been fighting disinformation at an unprecedented level nowadays, especially in the last year and a half. So making sure your content is readable, truthful, and of interest is more important than ever.
It's awesome. Yeah. I mean, how many times a week do we say content is king?
Too many.